Alright, it's slot cutting time. Prior to doing some hand work, we're going to use the machine again. Back to the drill press. Only takes a minute or so to squash a piece of material between the two jaw faces here and adjust the height. All of this stuff is just cranks, so it's no big deal. And it gives you an absolutely dead square, dead center saw cut at the end, which is a little overkill. Some guys do it by hand, but I'm one of these people who likes the precision and reliability. So that's the reason. It only takes about 2 seconds to do the cut. Hold on just a minute. And there we have it. And that's going to be a guide marker for a tool that will be able to reach in there and make the slot for this stem. Back to the bench we go. Alrighty, we've cut the slot on the drill press with a little saw. Now it's time to deepen that and cut the funnel. I'm going to do that with something called a carving drill and a hand tool. A carving drill is just what it sounds like. It looks like a tiny little drill, like a hypodermic needle. It's very sharp and it's spiral with designed to be cut, or rather it's designed to cause a cutting action when pressed sideways as opposed to the end. They were originally developed for the guys who make wooden duck decoys, and they're quite inexpensive. I think $6 or $8 will get you one, and they last forever. Get an extra in case you drop it. They're pretty small. They come in several sizes, but a 1/16 of an inch is usually what most guys use for pipe making. Oh yeah, the reason I'm making the funnel, the slot in the funnel so early in the process of making a stem is because it's a little tricky to do this, especially for first-timers or people who have been at it only a little while. And if you make a mistake in cutting this or getting your slot just a tiny bit off kilter, and everything has been done to that point, the entire stem has been shaped, you're stuck with a crooked slot. This way, we'll be putting tape down the sides of this as a guide. You can cut the slot kind of however you want and then carve the rest of the stem to it, and it gives you a safety net, so to speak. And using this kind of a tool, if you have a slow RPM Dremel type tool, they're high torque, low speed tools, which are opposite from how most of them are, but that's what you need. Don't try to do this with a high RPM handpiece. It'll just burn. Anyway, I guess that's it. Most people use a wax saw. I started with a wax saw, but the teeth on them wear out very quickly, and you can score the entire length of your airway. You can notch it out at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the tenon. Those things are problem prone as well. So this takes a little practice, but it's not difficult. You just learn to keep it going in a straight line. And here we go. Give it a shot. And there we go. Okay, we're almost ready to start grinding this thing into shape. Before we do that, I wanted to show you how to lay out your work. It's important, in my mind, to plan your work and work your plan, because the matter of shaping stems is entirely subtractive. If you take too much material off at any point, you have to start over. There's no going back. And I don't normally go through all of this that I'm going to show you in terms of making charts and stuff. This is more for the camera, but anyway, you get the idea. So this is our stem. Here's the tenon. Here's what the stem will look like that's imaginary inside of it, so to speak. This 0.125 is this little handle we're making, and the saddle portion is 1.2 inches long. Now, how I came up with that number, I didn't dream it up. I got online and checked out the 475 shape. The 475 is the cherry wood shape, like this one. However, if it's got a 6 in front of the number, that means that it's going to be a saddle stem. So I looked up a bunch of those and measured them on the screen, and it came out to 38% of the total length of the stem was this barrel portion besides the blade here. So this has now been mapped out with that in mind. This portion here is going to get ground down to the same diameter as the shank. This area through here is going to be the radius, and then the blade is going to be about as thick as this tape is here. Now this, you can get masking tape in different widths. Here's some 1/16 or 1/8 inch and some 3/16, and it's really handy stuff when you're laying things out like this. And this is part of the reason that we cut the slot first. Is, I'm not sure you can see it, but it shows up clear enough in real life. You just line the tape up on that slot and then make sure it's level, and everything is ready to go. This will prevent you from cutting a blade that has a twist in it, for example, or you're done cutting the blade and you find out that your slot is crooked, that kind of a thing. This lets you work according to the tape edges and ignore all the rest of it. It actually makes life a lot easier. Okay, and one final thing, and this is a slick bit. Everybody sees it, says, no kidding, how obvious can that be? Except I've never seen anybody else do it. So this is an authentic, sneaky trick. First, you need to know, of course, that anytime you're dealing with a collectible pipe or a high-grade pipe, the biggest no-no of all, the first order of business, is never grind on the shank. Don't sand it to level it when you're shaping the new stem. That's a no-no. In this particular case, it's been previously done, so we got some fudge room here. We can do it ourselves. It's actually flared a little bit. The wood is blown out. But I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone. Pretend for a moment that this was going to be a stem like that one, and that there was no smoothness here that needed to be retextured. Or it was, let's say, a smooth finish pipe. That's even better. Here is how you can get it to where you can make a stem completely off of the stumble, stand alone on the first try, fit it, and it'll fit perfectly. Here's how you do it. Get yourself a scribe. This is a good one. It's a Starrett. It has a hardened tip. You polish that like so on a piece of 1500 or 2000 grit paper and get it so it is like a needle. It'll scratch absolutely anything. And then you just drag it around the junction at the base of the shank. Wherever it comes in contact with the face of the material that you're making the stem out of, make sure you don't have to press very hard. It's going to scratch pretty deep on its own. And just go around until you've completed the circle. And then when you take it off, This is called lacquer stick. It's fill-in paint. You just shave a little slice of that off. It's paste paint. And slather it onto the face of the stem that you just scratched a ring around. Scrap a paper towel, and lo and behold, you have a white ring that, no matter what the shape or the centeredness or anything else of the shank of the pipe, you know exactly how far down to take it so that when you made them back together, they'll line up perfectly. Now, the only reason I did it here is because we're going to grind this barrel portion down, and I could have done that by wrapping tape around the stumble and had my depth gauge, but I figured I'd show you this while we were at that point in the process. Most stems you do this for. This particular one I didn't need to. But that's it. And there we go. I will now take you over to the Burr King and we will make some dust. Always fun.